name is Loui, and this is a cookery conversation with Aber Food Surplus Eco Food Hub. And today we're going to make falafel and tzatziki with Bulgar wheat. So the reason why I chose to do this dish is because it's super easy, super fast. You can make a lot of it, and then just store it in the fridge, and then you've just got like food for days. Although it never really lasts longer than days. But it's another one is that people come around whenever I make it around the house, and everyone's always really intrigued on how to make it. They think it's like some very complex process when it really isn't. And even just boiling it up, everyone wants to get involved doing it. So yeah, it's good, fun, nice, tasty food. So I'm just going to do this like really low tech, so you don't need to have a fancy processor. I literally just use a potato masher. And I find that's almost better than a food processor because you don't get it all just like mixed down into a paste. You get quite a nice like chunky texture then. First things first, you want to make as little washing up as possible, so we're just going to use the same pan. You want a pan with a flat bottom and steep edges, so you can just mash it down in. And then, yeah, use the potato masher. And you don't want to smash it. If you use just a rocking motion, you'll find that you're not just going to bang your elbows to bits, and yeah, it works a lot more effectively. Obviously a sharp knife can still cut, but you want to always really be working with sharp knives. So I'm just going to add this next to the mixture. Next bit, slice these up. So again, important thing, a longer knife is slightly better, always better for dicing. And when you dice, you don't like, even though like top chefs will like chop, don't do that because chances are you're going to clock your thumb or something like that. I'm holding it there, and I'm just going to do rocking motion. You kind of like keep the blade constantly in contact with the chopping board, and you're kind of like pushing from your palm, but yeah, in the centre point of the blade always, and that's generally how I dice. You want it to be kind of as fine as possible, because you don't really want to have like huge chunks. Although the texture is quite nice for the huge chunks in chickpeas, and like the onion, you don't really want huge chunks of coriander. You want it kind of try and get it down to like not quite a paste, but fairly fine. Again, I just do this all by eye. Right, so smoked paprika, 2 tablespoons, I'd say. Cumin, I'd say easily 2 tablespoons. Cumin is like a pretty critical ingredient in this, like for me anyway. It's like Middle Eastern dishes, like always has loads of cumin in. Then next, chili powder. It's entirely to do with like taste, so I'd say like, yeah, a teaspoon maybe. Max. And then salt, an important ingredient. So yeah, decent amount of salt, because you want to have all those flavours. Black pepper, I'd say about 2 teaspoons. Next stage, I'm just going to use this actually. So to let all the kind of flavours seep a little bit, I always use a bit of lemon. So you don't need to have a proper lemon squeezer or anything like that. All I do, especially when there's seeds in there, so you just get your hand, cup it slightly, squeeze, and kind of twist. Oh yeah, the important thing to know, whenever like cooking with oil, keep the handle completely away from you at all times, because obviously you don't want to just absent-mindedly just knock it and get hot oil everywhere, So chuck that in. So yeah, evenly mix it up. Next bit, flour. So for when you're doing 2 tins of chickpeas thereabouts, you're probably going to want about a cup of flour. So I've got a half cup measuring, which is 4 ounces. So I'm just going to measure that. Usually I'll just use a little cappuccino cup at home, but 1, 2. Mix that in. And all this is doing is just binding it all together. So this is a bit that everyone always really has fun. So you want to get a kind of small handful like that, and then you start squeezing it together. Always good practice is to like clean as you go. Next part, I'm going to start on. We're going to start cooking the falafel. And whilst that's happening, do the bulgur wheat, which won't take long at all, and the tzatziki. So I'm then just going to do a cup of bulgur wheat. So I've got a stock cube. Doesn't need to be anything fancy, you know, just for the bulgur wheat, but like I find a stock cube that helps with just a bit of flavour. So it's good. Chuck the stock into bulgur wheat. Pop that back on. Lid is good because you just want to steam it. You don't want it to be too hot. You want to bring it to a relatively high heat first, and then reduce it because you don't want to. Otherwise, you're just going to get the bottom go like solid, crispy, and the top. So you want like an even cooking. But obviously, we have boiled the kettle, so it shouldn't take too long to get to a high heat. With hot oil, so important to be very careful. So I use one of these, and you don't want to just plop it in because oil will fly everywhere. You want to gently drop it in with one of those, and then leave that there. Hopefully it won't boil over. And that's ideal where it's kind of frothing like that, so it's covering the top. So just using blue bowl with some tissue in it, because you just want to soak up any excess oil. Well, these are looking excellent already, so pull those out. They're not as dark as the others. I'm just going to pull them out now because I've got the empty card. Not so cool. This is all just mint that I picked off of Constitution Hill. So you can have apple mint, which is a bit more of the fluffy kind. It's a bit more like furry. So they got like slightly rounder leaves, if you can see that. And then you have the spearmint, which is a bit of a sharper blade to the leaf. Mint is just a weed, so you can literally grow it anywhere. And it does just kind of completely take over your garden. So if you wanted to actually take a sprig at some point and make a cultivation, the idea, you want to put it in a pot so it doesn't take over your entire garden. If you get the stalk, strip it back like this, you make a diagonal cut. The idea being is you want to create a big surface area, or a large surface area as possible, to produce roots. And if you soak this in water, after about a week or so, it should start producing roots off of it, and then it'll be good to go in soil. But like I say, pop it in a pot because it will completely take over your garden. One thing you'll notice as well as you're cooking the falafel dough, the oil level will drop because obviously you're kind of falafel soaking up a certain amount, and then there's obviously a bit of waste. So just when that happens, just keep an eye on it and just keep turning it so that they're getting like a nice even browning. Right, because I've picked this wild, the stalks are a little bit like woody, so we're just taking the actual fleshy leaves from the main part of the stalk, so we don't get any of that like woody chunks in that. The same principle as before with chopping the coriander and the garlic. Keep the blade in constant contact with the chopping board. You want to make this fairly well diced. And then tzatziki, I also put 1 clove of garlic in. Give this a quick wash. Again, working on a flat surface, top and tail. And then I've been really partial to just doing the cucumber in strips. Some people grate it, which is nice, but I find that if you're going to want to eat off of it for a couple of days, it does go watery if you grate it. So I used to cube cucumber as well for tzatziki, but again I found the same thing, it just goes watery quite a bit, so you have to mix it up a bit. Plop it on flat and then just do strips. At this point I quite like to put salt straight onto the actual cucumber. Don't want to like use loads of dill because it is really strong flavour. It's just like a really nice addition to this. So you just add a sprinkle of it. Kind of has like a bit of a croaky taste. And then we are going to use mustard seeds. Probably a teaspoon of that, but I'm just going to chuck this in as is. But yeah, a teaspoon. Quite nice having the mustard seed, good for flavour, but also the texture. So it's kind of a bit like poppy when you eat it. So again, probably not too much yogurt, just enough to kind of cover. And then, all important, olive oil. I use this in everything, pretty much. Even just chucking it up, put it on salads. You want a nice measurement of that. Get nice spoons. With the tomatoes, just however you want them, but if you're going to have them in wraps, I tend to do them in quarters. I generally like to have feta if I'm going to have any cheese at all. But I mean, if you're doing wraps, there's nothing really wrong with just having cheddar cheese grated on top. I mean, I would be lying if I said I'd not done that before. But I think like if you're doing this tomato-y kind of salad thing and you want to like make a batch up to stick in the fridge, feta just goes really well, especially if you've got olives in there as well. It's just like you don't then need to have the like side salad as it was with falafel. You can just have anything. Yeah, I tend to like make a big batch of salad or whatever in the fridge and then just pick at it for days. Also, if you're wanting to like keep salad, I mean, one thing I tend to do is I'll buy an iceberg. If you peel the leaves off, wash it, and then wrap it in a thin towel like this. Just swing it around because I don't have a salad spinner, and then it's still kind of a bit damp after, it's still got water in it afterwards. Then tub it up and throw it in the fridge, and then I generally peel back a few like layers. So chop it, wash it, strain it off, put it in a tub in the fridge, eat that, and then rinse, repeat. So then I keep peeling back later, and then that way you kind of make your lettuce last quite a while without having to throw it all away, kind of thing. So it's just like a little trick. I always like prepare, like I said, all vegetables and things. I always like wash and kind of prepare it, but because again, when you just kind of get into the habit of the foods you like to eat, then you kind of just, like I was saying before, this is all just preparation really. Like once you've done it, then you've just got it for multiple meals. So it's all just about like tricks, isn't it? Tricks of the trade, as it was. But yeah, I quite just like adding it to a bit of bulgur wheat or couscous, because it just kind of, especially if you do like bulgur wheat with some fruit in it, it really like complements quite nicely. So, right, aesthetic shot. That basically is like the consistency you want. Obviously the stock cube just makes it look a bit jazzy. So you can kind of see it's just really nice and like quite fluffy. So you just, so this is a really good thing as well with bulgur wheat, is it's just so easy to cook and like really satisfying texture. So just like make a bit of a mound. Yeah, a lot of the time, like if I'm just in a rush or whatever, I'll just have the yogurt and like a falafel and just dip. And again, if you want to put hot sauce on, you can. There's already chili sauce in, so chili powder. So I'm not really sure how like hot it's going to be. But and again, maybe get a shot of like what's left over, because that's the whole point of it. Really, is the fact that you can just make like a large batch, pack lunches or you know, just snacks, like, you know, if you need it, if you're having a full night or whatever. It's pretty excellent. So another thing I'll add, you don't need to buy tin chickpeas. So a Sudanese friend of mine was saying in this country, they tend to use dried chickpeas that they soak and then blend down. So I tried doing this one time, and you get like a really, excuse me, you get like a really good like flavour of the chickpeas. It's like a lot more pronounced. So yeah, so you can even make it even cheaper. You don't need to buy like tinned. Buy a load of dried, just soak it the night before. Happy days. I just love like Middle Eastern food generally. It's a good excuse to have salad.